Hi, my name is Rosalind, and I'm from Scotland. My parents passed away when I was a kid, and ever since I used to live with my granny, who ran a hot dogs food truck. And even though she was an old lady, she was a fierce creature. Once, when I was 8, I saw a man stealing some hot dogs, and as I started shouting, he ran for his life. Just then, Granny threw a big corn dog that hit him right in the head, and he fell to the ground face flat. And then she went and sat on him until the cops came. She was my superhero. After the rush hours, I'd often accompany her to homeless shelters, where she'd give away leftover food to poor kids. I'm afraid I don't have any more for you, little one. But here, I got this chocolate for you. Suddenly, Granny turned to me and hugged me. Oh, honey, I'm so proud of you. I always want you to be like your name, Rose, kind and soft, but when needed, I want you to be fierce and strong, okay? Yes, Granny, I'll always remember that. Time went by, and when I was in the 8th grade, I came home one day to find Granny all sick and lying in bed. I immediately ran to the hospital and got some medicine. But on my way back home, I saw a man trying to snatch a purse from a lady in an alleyway. I quickly ran over and kicked him hard. I tried to stop him as he escaped, but suddenly the lady held me back by my hand. Lily, what are you doing here? Lily? What? Who? The thief! He is running away! But she kept staring at me like I was some kind of ghost. And then she started pulling my hand. Come with me! Ugh, she was crazy! I bit her hand and ran away. The next few days, I was busy looking after Granny, but her condition was getting worse and I was running out of money. One day, I heard a loud knock on the door, and when I opened it, I was shocked to see it was the same lady from the alleyway. She told me her name was Emma, and she worked for a huge multinational company. But I didn't care. I was ready to kick her out. But then she whipped out her phone and showed me a picture of a girl who looked exactly like me. What, the frying potatoes? Now that she had my attention, she convinced me to go with her to a hospital where she'd explain everything. There, I saw the girl lying in front of my eyes on the hospital bed, my perfect doppelganger. It was so freaky. This is our young miss, Lily. She's in a coma right now, but we need you to replace her. What? You want me to go into a coma in her place? No, we want you to live as Lily in her place. Suddenly, a tall, handsome man came in and looked at me, stunned.
Oh my God, this is unbelievable. You look just like Lily. Emma was right.
He introduced himself as Mr. Wilson, Lily's dad, and then he asked me for the weirdest favor.
Lily will soon turn 16 and inherit the multi-billion-dollar company left by her late grandmother for her. But if the news about her being in a coma breaks out, it will go to the other shareholders and she'll be left with nothing. I just want you to live in her place until she wakes up. That's the only way I can make her future secure. Please help us.
Whoa, this sounded like some really serious stuff, and I didn't want to get involved. I won't be doing this. I'm sorry. I was about to walk out when Mr. Wilson offered me a deal I couldn't refuse.
I know your grandma is sick, and if you help us, I'll make sure she gets the best medical treatment.
And of course I said yes, but I had no idea what trouble I was getting myself into. I had to memorize the names and details of all the people in Lily's life before I set foot into her shoes. And God, this girl had the most uncomfortable shoes. I could hardly walk in them. Remember, no one knows about this except for you, me, and Mr. Wilson, so don't tell anyone, okay? Got it. As soon as I entered the house, I saw a gorgeous woman who looked like someone from a magazine cover. It was Lily's stepmom. Freaking pumpkins! You're so pretty. Lily? What? Oh my God, you're awake? That's wonderful news. Wait, what did you just say? She looked at me a bit suspiciously, but thankfully Emma came in and rushed me away to my room. The first night I couldn't sleep, and I snuck off to the garden. Just as I was lying there, I heard a voice. Miss, you shouldn't be lying on the grass. You might catch a cold. But I want to. Suddenly, he took off his shirt and put it beneath me. Here you go. OMG, he was so cute. But then he just started walking away. Oh, wait, where are you going? I can't be here with you. But I just pulled his hand and made him sit next to me, and he looked super shocked. He didn't speak a word, but then I inched closer to him and put an arm through his. I won't eat you, you know. Finally, he started speaking, and we talked for a while. He told me his name was Liam, and he ran errands around the house. And gosh, he had the most gorgeous blue eyes. Before leaving, I gently kissed his cheek, and he blushed so hard. The next morning, Emma came and informed me that we had to attend a big conference at the company. She told me no one would even notice me, but they made me sit on the biggest chair in the room. And everyone was looking at me with melon-sized eyes. Fishes! They started discussing things about the new product that wasn't doing well, and I didn't know what to do. So I picked up a drink in front of me and started slurping it, and it was disgusting.
What do you think is the reason for these low sales?
Yuck! Ugh, this tastes like toilet water. Why would anything like this sell? Oh shoot, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. All the people turned to me like I'd cursed them.
Go on, tell us what you think, Lily.
I'm sure you've seen people gathering around stalls on the streets, but it's not just because the food is cheap. It's because it tastes good. But if we will give them lemon-mixed water, who'd buy it for $20? At first, they looked at me in shock, but then they all nodded, including Mr. Wilson. I thought he was going to be super mad at me, so on our way back home, I apologized to him for speaking out.
Oh, don't be sorry, Rose. I was really impressed you spoke the truth in front of everyone.
Thank God. That made me take a sigh of relief. When I got home, I was exhausted and fell asleep as soon as I got to my bed. But sometime later, I woke up to see Liam there, taking off my shoes. Aw, he was such a darling. Liam, you don't have to do that. It's fine. I know you must be tired. I was just trying to. I couldn't resist and pulled him in for a kiss.
Whoa, what was that?
I think I like you, Liam.
But Lily, you're so rich, and I'm just
For a moment, I wanted to tell him who I really was, but I was afraid he might hate me after that. I don't care about anything, Liam. I just want you to know that I like you.
I like you too, Lily.
The next day, it was Lily's birthday, and there was a huge celebration in the evening, and I was freaking out because I knew no one. Suddenly, a weird-looking guy came to me and asked me for a dance.
Come on, enough of being mad at me, princess. Let's hit the dance floor.
No thanks. I'm good.
Come on, baby. I'm still your boyfriend. And I'm sorry I kissed someone else. But she kissed me first, okay? Sue me. Oh, don't do that. How about we just forget about it?
Ew! He was such a creep. Just then, he kissed me on my cheek. And Jesus, Liam saw him doing that, and he looked pissed. I pushed the jerk away and ran after Liam, but this Romeo guy pulled me back by my hand. Let go of me, you moron. I slapped him hard in the face. But just then, Lily's stepmom came to me and went all bonkers.
Lily, what the heck are you doing? Why are you creating such a scene in front of everyone we know and running after that servant boy?
But
I saw you with Liam the other night as well, but I didn't say anything. Don't get any stupid ideas, Lily. And get back to the party, now!
Ugh, I really didn't like this woman. Later at night, I decided to sneak out and go see Liam. But just as I was climbing down the windows, I heard Lily's stepmom talking over a phone.
I told you to get rid of Lily, and she's still here, roaming around. Don't you get it? I become a major stakeholder once she's gone, and then I'll have all the money and the company to myself, you idiot!
OMG. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I tried to take my phone out and record it, but I lost my balance and fell in the bushes. But now that I knew what an evil witch she was, I had to unmask her at all costs. The next day, there was a big event where everyone was gathered to sign over the company documents, and I was gonna be a freaking billionaire for a while. But just then, something bizarre happened. Stop this nonsense right now. This girl's a fraud. She's not Lily. I am. Holy moly. Lily was standing right in front of my eyes, all fine and well. Oh, Lily, it's not what you think. Suddenly, she slapped me hard on the face. You fraud! You thought you could take over my life and my place just like that? Just then, Mr. Wilson stepped in.
No, Lily, it's not her fault. Oh, God, I can't believe you're awake, honey. Now, calm down, and let me tell you everything.
Mr. Wilson and Emma took Lily away to another room, and her stepmom glared at me.
Oh, so you're some con artist, huh? I just didn't have a good feeling about you.
Oh, and what about you? Trying to get rid of Lily to get all the money for yourself, you old cow.
She looked at me, super shocked, and then she started screaming furiously. Security! Throw this girl out, now, or I'm gonna have to call the police. Suddenly, the security guards came running in and threw me out of the house. No, let me go! Mr. Wilson, Emma! But they didn't hear me, and I was kicked out. I wasn't a fraud. I didn't do anything wrong. This was insane. I was just about to go back home to Granny when I remembered how she taught me to be strong and fight for what's right. So I sneaked in through the back door and went straight to where everyone was gathered. Oh, I forgot to give you a little parting gift, Mommy. What's this? Oh, don't you remember? The day you were talking on the phone with your secret friend about Lily? I recorded your conversation about how you wanted to get rid of her. Of course, I didn't record anything, but she totally bought my lie. I'm gonna kill you, you filthy rat! She pounced at me, but thankfully Mr. Wilson stopped her.
Enough! I can't believe you'd do that. I loved you so much and gave you everything, and you hurt my kid? How could you be so evil? What for?
For the money, what else? Why else would I marry you with your stupid kid? I want all the money for myself, and what's wrong with that, huh? You know what? I'm gonna kill her right now. She ran towards Lily with a vase in her hand, and that's when I jumped in to take her down. Just then, Liam came running in to help me. Mr. Wilson immediately called the cops and had that evil woman taken away. After all the chaos, Lily came to me. I'm so sorry for hitting you earlier, Rose. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me. And please forgive me, okay? It's fine, Lily. You don't have to. No, I really owe you everything, Rose. I will make sure you are rewarded very generously. And if there's anything you ever want, you only have to ask. And I'll make sure your granny gets the best care. This was amazing. But there was still one person I had to talk to. Liam. He was standing in a corner in complete shock, and I took his hand and led him outside. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you who I really was, but I never lied to you about my feelings, Liam. I thought he was gonna be mad, but he winked at me and said, I know.
Hi there. My name is Angela, and ever since the 9th grade, my life has been one wild ride. Everything literally changed for me overnight. I never thought that a single fall could completely change my luck. The day I'm talking about started like any other. At school, things were exactly how I liked them. No one spoke to me, and I didn't speak to them. That is, until I got a message from my friend that she was waiting for me outside the debate room. I remembered the meeting we had scheduled, so I ran like crazy. Guess who I ran headfirst into? The king of football, Ross. As if that wasn't bad enough, I spilled my juice on his white shorts, but he grabbed his things and stormed away. I looked down at all of my things scattered around me. That's when I noticed something wasn't mine. I picked it up. A lottery ticket. I jumped to my feet and turned to call Ross's name just as he turned the corner. He turned around and looked me straight in the eyes. He shook his head and scoffed before continuing on his way. I wanted to give him back his ticket, but there was no way I was facing him again. Not in this lifetime. I spent the rest of my classes trying to devise a clever way of getting the lottery ticket back to him when a great idea came to me. I'd slide it into his locker. That way, I wouldn't have to talk to him. After school, I put the ticket in a small white envelope. For fun's sake, I stuck a small heart onto it. It's not like he'd know I sent it, I thought gleefully as I approached his locker and headed straight into the most embarrassing moment of my life. Just as I took out the envelope, Ross and his girlfriend Maria appeared. She snatched it out of my hand and looked at the heart. Oh no, I thought. Please no. But to my utter horror, she began laughing and said I was trying to give him a love letter. I tried to tell her that it wasn't a letter at all, when Ross looked at me and literally snarled, "Get out of here, you idiot," he yelled. He said I was a weirdo and a stalker. Clearly, he hadn't forgotten this morning's event. He snatched the envelope from Maria and threw it in my face. I was humiliated. When I got home, I threw my backpack on the ground and the lottery ticket fluttered out of the side pocket. I snatched it up off the ground, crinkled it up, and threw it in the trash. Stupid ticket. As luck would have it, I was late for school the next morning. I rushed to school and saw something that left me speechless. Ross and his girlfriend had gone crazy. Or so it seemed. They were emptying trash cans all over the place, and other students were laughing at them. I hung around in the shadows, trying to figure out what had happened when I overheard a kid say that someone in our small town had won the $1.2 billion jackpot last night. My mind went straight to the ticket I had thrown in the trash. He then said that nobody had claimed the ticket yet, and Ross had lost one, which could be the winner. I walked away with my heart racing, wondering if I could possibly have the winning ticket. And then I remembered something horrible. It was trash day. Panic took over. I needed to get back home as soon as possible. To get out of school, I faked being ill. But the nurse didn't buy it and suggested that I just rest for a little bit in her office. I knew if I was going to get back home before the garbage man came, I needed to do something drastic. So I pretended to faint, but I ended up actually hitting my head really, really hard on the bedstand. On the bright side, though, I got sent home. Once home, I rushed upstairs as quickly as I could while pretending to be ill. I tried to convince my mom that the best thing for me would be fresh air, but she wasn't falling for it and sent me back to my room. I tried to think of another way to get out when I heard the garbage truck down the road. I had to do something right now. I had no choice but to sprint out of the house and deal with the consequences later. I rushed down the stairs, tiptoed out of the back door, and ran towards the dumpster as if I were being chased by bees. Things were about to get really dirty. I jumped straight into the dumpster and started going through the bags like a maniac. Oh God, whose trash is this? No one eats stinky tuna out of the can at my place. And what's this weird pink stone? I just chucked it all out and moved on to the next bag. I couldn't see that lottery ticket anywhere. I climbed out of the dumpster feeling completely defeated and covered in gross stuff. The garbage truck had pulled up by now, and clearly the driver thought I was insane, but he just picked the bags up and drove off. I went to my room, slammed the door, and kicked my wastebasket over. And that's when I saw it. The lottery ticket. It must have fallen out when my mom emptied out the wastebaskets. I snatched it up, then went straight to the lottery website on my phone. My heart was racing. The first number matched, then the second, the third. Oh my God, now I just needed the fourth number. Wait, what? The fourth number didn't match. Just like that? I couldn't believe it. I was this close. I stared at the numbers again and again, but they weren't about to change. I had lost, and I had a concussion, and I stank like fish. Officially the world's unluckiest person. Later that night, I was skimming through my Instagram feed when I saw a post that made me sit straight up in bed. It was an ad offering $2,000 to the person who found a weird pink stone. Now, where had I seen one of those today? I tiptoed out of the back door quietly, again, and made my way to the dumpster again, and looked around the ground with my phone's flashlight, and my heart skipped a beat when the light caught something shiny. It looked exactly like the stone in the ad, and if someone was willing to pay $2,000 to someone just for finding it, I wondered how much it was actually worth. I quickly picked it up and went back inside, hardly able to sleep that night with excitement. The very next morning, I got off the school bus midway in town and headed straight to Mr. Clark's jewelry and antique store. I'd worked there last summer, and if anyone could tell me the value of this stone, it was old Mr. Clark. His eyes sparkled as he held it up and inspected it in the light. Then, under a special microscope he was taking his sweet time. Finally, he told me that it was a really rare and valuable stone, probably worth millions. I tried to act cool, but I actually wanted to jump up and down for joy. I was going to be so rich. He asked me curiously where I'd gotten it from, and I said casually that it was my grandma's, and I was just having it checked out for her. Then I was out of there. Only millions, eh? You liar. I could tell it was worth more just by the look in his eyes. He called me the next day and asked me if I could meet him again at the store. I wasn't surprised. I knew he wanted this stone, but I wasn't going to let him trick me into settling for less. And he could certainly afford to pay whatever price I asked for. Everyone knew how crazy rich Mr. Clark was. He lived in a 50-acre mansion, and he had a tiger for a pet. And holding on to the stone in my pocket tightly, I told him that I wouldn't accept a penny less than $1 billion. He looked at me for a moment, whipped out his checkbook, scribbled something, and handed me a check. My eyes were about to pop out of my head. He'd actually given me $1.2 billion. I handed him the stone, We shook hands, and I walked out, completely dazed. What? I was a billionaire. Life changed for me overnight. I went from Lady Unlucky to Lady Luck. I went on secret shopping sprees and hired a personal driver to be on standby and take me anywhere I wanted to go at any time. I obviously had to be careful not to get caught by my parents, so I lied a bit. At school, though, things were wild. I could throw the craziest parties and take everyone to the coolest concerts. Everyone loved me. Within a year, I had become the queen. I could buy little things here and there for people, and because of it, they all worshipped me. Best of all, Ross wanted to date me. Ha! He was still a big meanie to others, though, so I played him a little. I knew I could get away with it now. I made him write me a love letter and then humiliated him for it in front of everyone. The tables had turned. I would much rather date Kevin. Kevin was a total babe. Everything was great, but towards the end of the year, I overheard my parents crying in the kitchen when my dad got home from work one evening. I stuck around to eavesdrop. They were talking about how my dad had lost his job. They didn't know what they were going to do and were concerned about not being able to pay for the house anymore. I couldn't believe it. What was the point of their fancy college degrees if they didn't even ever use their brain? It's up there for a reason, you know. That's why poor people stay poor. I had the smarts to know what something was worth, and I knew how to make the money for it. I could help my parents, but then I would have to tell them that I sold something that wasn't mine. And even worse, my money might get taken away. I couldn't risk it, so I snuck away. I'd deal with this later. At the end of the school year, all the popular kids were planning to go to the Bahamas for a trip. I told Mom and Dad that I was going away for a summer vacation, and they were glad to have time to work a few more odd jobs. I kind of felt sorry for them, so I snuck $100 into my dad's wallet. It ended up being 7 of us in total, and I paid for everything. I mean everything. From hotels to room service, we even had 24/7 butlers and a private jet. I bought everyone the best food and treatments. I even paid for a few folks, including myself, to get private surfing lessons. It was awesome, and I was totally happy. At least, so I thought. One day, while I was surfing, I sprained my ankle. I was in terrible pain and freaked out. My surf teachers and 24/7 butlers all came to my aid and rushed me to the hospital. But only Kevin came to see me. I was pleased to see him, but he could only stay a bit, and then he went out to take his mom's call and didn't come back till the next day. I needed some time to heal before going home, so I called my parents and told them that I had won a contest and got to stay for an extra week. They were so preoccupied trying to figure out how to keep paying the bills that they didn't even question things too much. I assumed my friends would want to stay a while longer, but everyone except Kevin said they had to leave. At least I had Kevin, but he had been acting a bit weird. He was always outside. He barely stayed in with me, and when he did, he was always smiling at his phone. It was difficult to always be limping around. When I finally got better, I thought I'd surprise him at the beach, but I was in for a real shock. At the beach, I found him making out with a local, and she was wearing my clothes. This was why he stayed. I was devastated. I rushed home the next day. Once I got back home, I was too embarrassed to tell everyone how heartbroken I was, because everyone seemed happy. When they all insisted I throw a big party that weekend, I rented out a huge warehouse and hired interior designers to decorate everything. I even hired bouncers. The whole upcoming senior class was invited. It would be epic and would finally show Kevin he was a sucker for cheating on me with some dumb, broke girl. As expected, the party was absolutely insane. Just about everyone showed up. People were dancing everywhere, and the whole warehouse was full. It started off great, but as the night went on, things got out of control, and I stopped having fun. The cops showed up and busted the party. We were all underage, so we were all in deep trouble. But the worst thing wasn't getting caught. It was when everyone blamed me and told the cops I was to blame for it. Traitors. After everything I'd done for them, of course, the cops took me to a police car and called my parents. And needless to say, my parents were livid. At first, they couldn't believe the cops had the right people, as there was no way in hell Mom and Dad could afford such a wild party. I was so dead. I had to come clean. But I told them there was no way I'd give up my money. They said I was grounded, and I laughed in their faces. I told them I could move into a house easy peasy. In fact, I told them I could pay rent to stay here. Mom was so mad. She almost choked, but Dad looked at me sadly and said he needed the money, so he agreed. Ha! For a whole week, they didn't even speak to me. I came home and went as I pleased. And after the police incident, everyone knew I had won the lottery. Life at school was back to normal. I was throwing parties, and I didn't have to worry about Mom and Dad at all. That's when I noticed my money was beginning to dwindle. I figured I'd have to learn to be more careful, and that's when the worst thing imaginable happened. I was on my way back from school when a van pulled up next to my car, and 3 armed men jumped out and banged on the doors. They broke the windows and hit my driver on the head. It knocked him out. The 3 of them grabbed me and dragged me out of the car. They quickly pushed me into the van and we sped off. They put me in a dark room where I was blindfolded. They said they wanted the $1.2 billion. I told them I'd spent it all, but they knew I was lying. They called my parents and demanded the money, but my parents said they had no idea where I kept it. The kidnappers didn't believe them. They said I would rot here forever if I didn't give them exactly $1.2 billion. I asked them why they needed the exact sum when I didn't even have it. When finally one of them pulled off their mask and lifted my blindfold, I gasped. It was Ross. He said he knew I'd stolen his ticket. I tried to explain that I hadn't, but he punched the wall. Ugh, this jerk thinks the ticket was the winner. Man, I have to deal with this now? He said he had needed that money to go to college, but because I'd robbed him, he couldn't go anymore. I cried and said I was sorry, but it was useless. He wouldn't let me go. When he finally believed that I'd spent most of the money, he left the room with the others and said I would rot there. He locked the door and left. I was petrified. I banged on the door, but no one opened. I started crying. What have I gotten into? Why wasn't anybody looking for me? Where were my friends? I was sure I would never escape. I fell asleep crying. When I finally opened my eyes, I saw a bright light. Had I died? Mom and Dad would be heartbroken. They still loved me, even though I'd been such a horrible person. That's when I heard Mom sobbing. I finally managed to focus on everything around me. I was in a hospital, and there were all sorts of tubes running through me. I asked what happened, and they said Ross had tried to break into the house. As they had expected it, the police managed to catch him, and he told them where I was. The police inspector said if I'd been there any longer, I would have lost my life. I had been in that room for 3 days without food or water. He said I was the luckiest person he knew.